So there's this content creator, he did this video, and I actually rather like his stuff. I'm not going to stitch it because I'm not trying to be mean or anything, and I'm not trying to pick on the guy because I genuinely like his stuff. But he brought up this comment about doing why it is that the rich have suppressed all of this technology that could make everybody's lives better. I need to kind of explain how that works, because I think a lot of folks, I mean, again, if you haven't been in business for decades, you're probably not going to see how a lot of this stuff works. Most everything that you're seeing is smoke and mirrors. Okay, so the analogy that I gave you before, a long time ago, was that of the so-called, electric semi-truck, right? So for those of you who actually do drive semi-trucks, you know that there is really no way to make something like that actually happen in the practical sense. And the reason that is because weather conditions and so many other conditions that are out there in the real world that make something like that extraordinarily difficult, if not all but impossible, to do something like that on a commercialized basis. Oh, you could make it work here and there, but not on an industrialized level, because it's just not, it's the infrastructure to support it just isn't there, right? So what happens is that a lot of companies and a lot of these rich people, they post all this stuff and show like, oh, look, we could have this for your house, and you could have everything be automated, and your house will do everything for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no discussion of the back end cost of what it takes to actually make all of that shit work. Okay, that's not talked about, because see, then investors wouldn't invest in that. And keep in mind, a lot of stuff that gets peddled out there is just to get investors to give them money, right? You think that I don't get those phone calls? Of course I do. I get those calls like, oh, invest in this, invest in that. And I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you a few questions. And then it just falls apart. Well, yeah, because I know what questions to ask. You do this stuff long enough, you figure this out. You figure out all these different scams. My former protege, she starts to see more of these scams more and more. I said, yeah, give it a few more years and you'll start to see pretty much how all the sausage is made, and you'll know what's going on. So, yeah, this idea that everything was going to be automated and, we're all going to have rocket ships to the moon and all that shit that they sold people in the 50s, which is true. Go back and watch old 50s TV shows. That propaganda was very much there. And it's still there now. In fact, they're dusting it off. Oh, we're going to move to Mars now. And people will fall for this again, rather than actually try to fix the problems in your own backyard, right? I mean, that's one of the part of the denouement for the Wizard of Oz is like, well, I mean, why don't you fix the problems you have right here? You're standing here. Let's go ahead and fix those problems, as opposed to trying to invent other things to go. In other words, slay the dragon in front of you rather than the dragon that is theoretically in the future. And it's just common sense, right? Or it's common sense to me. Common sense to people who the guys who actually make all that crap work for all of those propaganda videos for investors and so on. I mean, it really is when you see like, oh, well, there's all this technology that's available to help people live longer. Yeah, there's no comment on what the actual cost was to make that happen. And I can assure you, in most cases, the costs are probably astronomical. Now you can say like, well, but the costs come down over time. They do if you have an accurate unit of measurement. The currencies that exist in this world now are not units of measurement. They don't even resemble units of measurement. They're a scam. That's all they are. So, yeah, you could get something to work if for one person or two people. Maybe you could get it to work for a few hundred. Billions? No. Nope. That just doesn't exist, because there is a resource reality. Human desires are infinite. Human resources are finite. Now, not everybody wants the same thing. That's true. I mean, I have no interest in a 40,000 square foot mega mansion. I just don't. I mean, have you ever? I mean, some of you out there, I think you get a little too far. Especially younger people. You get a little too far to this road. You see Diddy and all these other guys, or not just Diddy, but I mean all these other douchebags that are out there, the Hollywood's people, 40,000 square foot mega mansions and yachts and all that shit. And there's never anybody that talks about like the cost to maintain that. Even if there were no property taxes, let's assume for a second that property taxes, we did the right thing. We got rid of property taxes in this country altogether. And then somebody gave you a 40,000 square foot mega mansion. Most people would have no clue how to maintain any such property. Like, most people can barely handle maintaining a 4,000 square foot house. I know this because I see my customers' houses. I have customer houses that have 4, 5, 6, 8,000, 12,000 square foot houses. I go in there and I can tell you right now, nobody is doing the maintenance on these properties. Nobody. They can't afford it. They can't afford the maintenance on that. They can only afford what the HOA, the bare minimum of what the HOA tells them that they have to do for their front yard to make sure the place looks nice. The inside of the house is falling apart. There's sheetrock cracks all over the place. There in backyard, there's stones that are like, I mean, come on. Most of these people cannot afford to maintain any of these houses, which is why the illusion of the 40,000 square foot mega mansion. And what do you think that, like, what's her name, Leona Helmsley's house? You know, that like, it was, I think hers was like 30,000 square feet or something in Greenwich, Connecticut. It sat for sale forever. Nobody wanted it. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, even if you gave someone the house, they couldn't afford the house. So, I mean, think of how many people just can't afford pool maintenance, right? Forget all the rest of it. How many people can't even afford maintenance on a pool? Let alone maintenance on like 5 water features, two indoor pools, and, you know, a dry cleaner that's inside your house, all that kind of shit, you know. So the maintenance on this kind of stuff is the problem. So the people who actually do understand all this stuff, we know that there is no way they can do that. You can advertise it all you want, but there's a practical reality that exists. And if you don't understand the practical reality of what it costs to maintain all of this stuff, and I'm not just talking about all the stuff, but I'm talking about the people as well. So this includes healthcare. That's why health insurance is a scam. It's not mathematically possible to do what health insurance companies claim. Somebody always has to get the thumbs down, right? Oh yeah, you might get a few people to get the thumbs up, you know, but those are the people that are going to be most profitable. You know, those are the people who are most likely to be the folks that are going to live a little longer, and they're going to make a little more money, and they're going to pay a bit more premiums. They're not going to do that for grandma, right? Because grandma, you know, isn't going to go out and make a bunch more money and pay a bunch more premiums, right? So everybody else's premiums get to go up as a result of that. So there's no mathematical way to run any of these scams, which is why I point out health insurance is effectively a scam. Well then, you know, but it's a law, you have to buy it. Break the law. Who gives a shit? Fuck these people. I mean, like, dude, you don't have to go out and try and whack CEOs. You just have to stop giving them fucking money. I mean, if you want to be real here, like, I mean, most people are not going to go whack CEOs. We're not going to be, you know, mounting heads on walls and so forth as trophies. Cool though that would be, we're probably not going to do that. No, if you really want to so-called break the system, just stop giving them money. Stop fucking giving them money. Stop paying them. That's one of the fastest ways to do it. Make them print the money to worthlessness. Make them print the dollar to complete fucking garbage. Make that orange tard, you know, Trump print the dollars to worthlessness to the point where, you know, just nobody even takes them anymore. You know, I mean, like, this is the reality. You want to, you know, if for all of you out there, and I don't care what your politics are, you know, there's a bunch of right-wing virtue signalers out there, you know, like, well, I mean, you guys are silent when I talk about the Second Amendment. Why is that? Because, I mean, I'm an actual absolutist on it. That means that even the people you don't like get to own guns. So, yeah, I mean, that's what absolutism actually is. It means that the people who, you know, freedom of speech, if you're an absolutist, it means that people that you don't agree with get to say whatever they want to say. That's what that means. And it means that the people that are your enemies get to be armed as heavily as you are. So, it puts another layer on the whole fuck around, find out thing, doesn't it? So, because some of you have actually, you know, fucked around a lot, and, you know, you would find out if there was no goddamn gun laws, huh? So, there you have it. That's how all of this stuff is going to play out, and a lot of it's a scam.